All right.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. It's good to be back with you on this cold, and I mean cold, snowy day in Virginia. We're here today to discuss the importance of detoxification. We'll hopefully do a really deep dive and learn about not only the whys, but the hows with my friend Christian Elliot. But first, I want to talk a little bit about our upcoming event near Roanoke, Virginia. Oh, there's Christian. Didn't mean to bring you on quite yet, but hey, you're there. So
Here I am. Tell us about your event in Roanoke.
I'll tell everyone about our event. This is our second conference at Melvin's Farm to Fork store, which is near Roanoke, Virginia. There are lots of hotel rooms, lots of Airbnbs in the area, and lots of great restaurants too. It's a really nice area to come and visit anyway. But our event will be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning we'll have worship, the 25th, 26th, and 27th of April. So you can scan that QR code or visit our website or Melvin's Farm to Fork store website for more information and to register. But we hope to see many of our listeners there. And hey, invite some friends. And then while we're at it also, don't forget to order your plants from Farm on Central. My friend Michael Kilpatrick grows a wide variety of wonderful things that I know you'll want to plant on your homestead or in your garden. Things including my favorite, elderberries and grapes and raspberries, blackberries, willows, ginger and turmeric, and they have a great deal on certified organic California grown almonds, $89 for 10 pounds with free shipping. That is a great deal. So check out Farm on Central and use the code GGT5 for $5 off your order. All right, so here we go. Christian Elliot, my friend, it's so nice to see you.
Nice to be seen, Maureen. Good. Thanks for inviting me.
I miss you here in Virginia.
Yes, we have our days where my kids especially long for some hills and all that went with living in Virginia. Yeah.
Hills and snow and cold. This has been a really unusual, but should be normal winter here in Virginia. We've had a lot of cold and a lot of snow. And I think it's going to continue for a while. So maybe the sunny beaches of Florida are actually preferable this time of year. I don't know.
Yeah, there's an argument to be made for that. Although to sympathize, I did have to put long sleeves on this week. So that was hard for me, but I did it.
You can survive.
I can.
I'm not only in long sleeves, I'm in a turtleneck and a wool sweater.
Yeah, I don't miss that.
Yeah, I'm kind of over winter. I know we need it and it's a good thing. And I don't generally mind it. I'm happy to be experiencing what winter should be, but I'm a little over it now.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yep. But that said, winter has its place. It's good for the earth. It's good for the ground. It's good for the crops. It's even good for the people. But we're going to talk about something that we seldom talk about and seldom hear. And it is a vital, vital part of human health. Mm-hmm. And so in addition to all of the many other things that you do with your group, you're talking about detoxification right now. Yeah. And I'm just really, really happy to be digging into that. I'm hoping that we can find some strategies and some help for all of us because it's such an important topic. But Christian, before we get rolling into that, do you want to tell a little bit about yourself and your family and how you came to be at this place right now?
Sure, I can happily do that. So yeah, as you mentioned, we were in Virginia for a long time. We lived there about 15 years. And for 9 years, we had brick and mortar locations where we had personal trainers and acupuncturists, chiropractics, massage, naturopathy, et cetera. And so I was used to integrating different ideas because I've always been a coach, never been a healthcare professional, my approach has always been, how do I help the body function better? How can I figure out what's creating body burden and how do I remove that so it can be optimal in whatever God has put you here to do. And so 2017, we closed that. We switched to a virtual model. And then, so we were just coaching online. And then when COVID hit, it really shifted a lot of things. And one of the things it did was start bringing down walls between professions, and medical and alternative in particular, and even the coaching realm. And so I had the good fortune to, I wrote an article about my opinions on the COVID shots, and that introduced me to a lot of people. And in the experience of doing that, I just got to meet and connect with a lot of doctors and other coaches who were just ready for better answers and who were interested in collaboration and saw it's really the weaponization of their profession on some level. And we have got to do better. This is not what the Hippocratic Oath looks like. And so one
Yeah.
of the topics that came up with some frequency was helping people who had adverse events from the COVID shots. And so that got me kind of nudged in, kind of back into the world of detox, if you will. And we started looking at, well, what's in them and what are we trying to get out of the body and what mechanisms of harm can we identify? And that investigative process quickly makes you say, this is the most hairy, complicated problem you can imagine. Because even just a few months ago, there was a article or paper that was published that said there was 55 undeclared chemicals in the top 6 shots. So 55 ingredients that are not even on the label. And so that's like
No
not,
way. I didn't even know that.
yeah, that's roughly 9 ingredients per shot that aren't even declared, which J&J wasn't even on that list. So like, who knows what was in that one? But
I'm just
you
going to
take,
pull up one quick slide.
yeah,
As you can go on talking, but I think this is an important thought. So
yeah,
as we're talking about this, we're not here to talk specifically about this today, and we are going to come back to this general topic, but not today. But since it has come up right now, I had this slide up. It spoke volumes to me when I found it the other day. So
yeah.
anyway,
That's a very compelling point. And there's so many rabbit trails we could go down regarding this term expert and
yeah,
follow the science and consensus and trust and safe and effective and on and on. So there's, I'm not a doctor. we're not going to make any medical claims here. We're not going to give personal health advice. We're just here to inform and in the telling of my story. This is just part of the plot. This is just part of how I got to back into the world of detoxification. And when you realize the complexity of what's in them or what may be in them, including heavy metals, including some people I've talked to specifically who believe they found parasites in the shots. And I mean, I don't spend time looking through the microscope, but you talk to them and try to convince them that they didn't see that. Good luck. So, so that, and then my background as a coach, I'm so used to dealing with the complexity of the individual, the age and stage of life and motivation fluctuations, ups and downs of the things that can make claims on their time. I get paid to get outcomes and the brass tacks of a real life. And so to take other people who are looking at the complexity of these ingredients and to take the idea that we're going to have a silver bullet for that level of complexity, the shots and the individual, we just had to step back and say, okay, this is madness to think we can reduce this to a chemistry equation. If we continue to think inside the periodic table, we are not going to make much of a dent. And so we stepped back and said, how does the body clean itself out? Period.
yeah.
What things poison the body? Why does the body get sick in the first place? We just started asking the first principal questions about health and healing. And you can't look at, if you're just looking at within the lane of the shot, what's in it, and then you'd broaden it to like, what else is in the body? Well, anything that poisons us is something we would need to get out. And so it created a funnel of a way to start approaching the problem.
That's it's really interesting to talk about this because I think we all can agree that today we have far, far more toxins all around us in the air and the water and our food. And women are dumping our toxic loads into our children and men into the sperm, so into the children. And so we just perpetuate this endless cycle of toxicity.
Yeah.
And prior to modern times, there were still toxins and people still needed to detoxify. And they did so regularly in Old and New Testament times, for example. Fasting was a normal part of the week, the month, and the year, just for that reason. And today we almost never even talk about that.
Yeah, no, that's one of the pillars, one of the key things that we leverage in one of our programs is just, that is some of I didn't get it I got it on the spiritual mental level, but I never I couldn't reconcile how is being hangry supposed to make me spiritual. Like I had a gap in my understanding. And as I understood the biological realities of what the body does when you fast, it's shockingly effective. It's like the deepest healing we can do. And not just a body level, but a soul level. And why in the world would we not leverage this? And so then it became, how do you do it? And how do you do it well? And so we put together a course about 5 years ago, just all about prepping your body for it, going through it and coming off of it. And my goodness, some of the stories of healing you get are that everyone typically loves wow, my tummy hasn't been this flat since I was a teenager. Like
That's something
it,
I actually need.
right.
Yeah.
It's remarkable how
Yeah.
effective it is and how we've either been scared away from it or we're just nobody makes money talking about not eating. People make money when you consume things.
Yeah.
And so getting that into the conversation along with what we simplified health down to was three things. To your point, we are living in a environment that is highly toxic and increasingly so. That's why it's so much harder to get well than it used to be, because it's a compounding problem with confounding factors. And so we just stepped back and said, how do we take away the burden? Where is it getting into us to start with? And we also have an open loop for mental, emotional toxicity. Like that's a real thing for a lot of people. They're poisoning themselves with their thoughts.
Yeah.
But when you can simplify it to let's take the burden away, let's purify the body of what's already in there, and then let's nourish it back to health, the puzzle gets a lot simpler. And it doesn't matter as much which chemicals in there, because the body knows and it knows how to get them out. So our job is just to do those three things
to help facilitate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Now, I'm just going to toss out a couple of avenues of toxicity, obviously, and I'm happy to see that Robert Kennedy Jr. is addressing the agrochemical aspect.
Yeah, right.
I've been both on my farm in Pennsylvania and on the beaches of sunny Florida and watching the sky. And man, watching what's going on above us is really scary. And most people just call us nuts. Well, it is really interesting how many conspiracies actually have proven to be true in the last 5 years or so.
Right.
And that's one of them.
Yeah.
So I feel like we cannot even escape toxicity anymore. There are PFAS, forever chemicals. I read about a farm in Maine. A young couple wanted to start an organic farm. They bought some land. They started to grow things. They had their soil tested and they found PFAS.
Yeah.
And as they investigated further, they're everywhere. You can't get away from those.
Correct. Yeah, you can't get away from glyphosate. And to your point, you can't get away from jet exhaust. Even if we took spraying, which I think is real, off the table, we're still exposed to the smog that eventually finds its way back down, which includes heavy metals in it. Like that, from how many hundreds of thousands of flights every day are spewing exhaust into the atmosphere. Yeah, that accumulates, and it's not we're not shrinking the airlines and shrinking the population. We're expanding, and we're using chemical intervention as part of growth, and that only creates more body burden. So yes, you're right to frame it as an inescapable problem, and to realize that the number of places it's coming from is sobering. And then once you've kind of gone through the like, oh gosh, that's real, you can kind of, okay, well, what do I do about it? And you have the sober, eyes wide open approach to managing your own health.
Well, what are some ways that all of these toxins that we are exposed to affect us?
Any number of ways. So it's you can think of like headaches or tinnitus or tinnitus, depending on how you pronounce it. There's so many problems we could just trace to a root cause of the body as being poisoned. So how old are you? Where do you live? What is your influence? How much water do you drink? How much hope do you have? Those different factors get mixed into what these chemicals do in our bodies. And so we haven't even talked about microbes, namely parasites, and what that can do, because that's a very overlooked and dismissed problem as well. But if we're just talking chemicals, it's easy. You go on Children's Health Defense, Moms Across America, Environmental Working Group, and you just put in a disease condition and you'll see it correlated to all sorts of things. But some of the easiest ones to correlate would be neuromuscular or neurodegenerative diseases, your dementia, your ALS, your Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. Those are largely a heavy metals problem. And if we don't admit or understand that, or look at, for example, what the dentistry industry has done to us and
Yeah.
creating more of that problem, then we aren't addressing the upstream reason why those things are growing the way they are. And you could look at I hate to say it, but vaccines, and the fact that most people can't even name 3 ingredients in the things, but mercury,
Yeah.
aluminum, formaldehyde, chicken embryos, fetal cells, antifreeze. Like, those are the things in these shots. And how in the
What
world
we're
is that
putting
supposed to make
into
us
our
healthy?
bodies.
Dozens or up to 100 times and before age 18. Like, show me it doesn't have basic logic behind
Mhm.
it. But most people, until recently, fortunately, it was too taboo to even say, can we ask what's in that? And can I see the package insert? Oh, you only studied this for 4 days or 5 days. Like, nobody
Yeah.
died. Just ship it. It must be safe. Like that era, I think, is over. And so, yeah, that so much of I mean, autism especially, there's a definitive paper that said vaccines are really the number one reason why that's so bad. And that's
Yeah.
really uncomfortable news to hear if you're a parent and you've allowed that in your child. And that's just, we have to, if we can't face it, we can't fix it. And so
Right.
to be able to look at these sources of body burden, another major one is glyphosate, or the pesticide Roundup, and that active ingredient is off patent. It can be used by other companies, and so it's to the tunes of billions of pounds of it sprayed on our land around the world every year. Well, it's
Every year.
water soluble, which means that the rain washes it to the rivers and the oceans, and then we recycles, and it's literally in the rain. So
Yeah.
that is great for gut rot and cancer and all sorts of other problems. So
Yeah.
you're not going to get away from these. So then the question becomes like, okay, great. We're at the beginning of making America healthy. We're at the beginning of potentially stop pointing the finger at us for not being, uh, not exercising and taking care of our
Mhm.
diet, and really going, oh, there's industry behind this. There's money, and the
Yeah.
regulatory agencies have just existed to point the finger away from them and tell us to just exercise more. And that era hopefully is over. We're done being gaslit, but it's still, we got a decades worth of cleaning this up. And if it doesn't start internally inside us, we're going to have a hard time even being available for the effort to clean it up. So it really does start with look in the mirror and what's my role in this? And if I don't take care of my own health, what options does that cut off in life? Where am I going to be forced to play small because I just don't have the energy or the drive or the clear head to bring to whatever I'm supposed to be about in this world?
The clear head, you mentioned that, and, and that's really becoming, in and of itself, a huge problem. Um, my mother had dementia, died with dementia.
Mm,
My grandmother had Alzheimer's. Somebody else I know has dementia. And then you mentioned the metals and the toxicity there, and it actually isn't only in vaccines.
right.
But that is a very intentional, you're putting this into your child or yourself.
Yeah.
You have to understand that all of these terrible ingredients are in there, and we just can't get away from them. I feel like we are reaching at this point in time a place where I actually don't have a lot of optimism that we can recover unless people really wake up. And I feel like God being in control and God having his hand in all of human interactions. God's not evil, but
Mhm.
Satan is. I feel like at this point in time, God has actually orchestrated even the US elections in such a way that right now we have a president who is supercharged, even
You
more
can say
so
that.
than he was 5 years ago.
Mhm.
And so whatever hope I have, besides my hope in heaven, my assurance of heaven, and my faith in God, aside from that, in terms of this earth, I feel like we live in a time where we actually have some hope to turn things around because our current administration is trying to expose all of this malfeasance, this bureaucratic malfeasance and corporate, intentional, profit driven poisoning
Yeah.
people everywhere. But we look at epigenetics and we know that everything that happens, whether it be trauma or poison, has an effect for at least 7 generations. And so we had better jump on the bandwagon and try to turn this horse around.
Yeah. Well, and I can, I don't know, maybe add some more optimism to your your outlook, just because you're right. This does have downstream generational impacts. Yeah, it sure can.
Yeah.
But is the body fearfully and wonderfully made and able to do this? Do we serve a God who can render things inert, or who could um, do healing in miraculous ways? Yes, we
Yeah.
do. And
Absolutely.
so part of what I get to enjoy, week to week, really, is the stories of the people who it finally clicked how to approach this problem. They finally found enough of their sea legs with the tools that we give them to clean their body out and to heal it, and just to watch dramatic transformations of stories where somebody had no hope, thought their body couldn't heal, and they're not that old person anymore. And just it's a category of option I come across frequently, like that healing is possible. And even in my own generation, like, the Weston Price work too, and that even
Mhm.
their logo is a face that's wide, a face that's narrow, and then another face that's wide. That's the three globes that they have on the
Yeah.
logo. And to see that generationally to change. I see that in my own kids. I wasn't born with a wide head and face like I would, if my parents had eaten
Nor me.
the way they should have or could have, then that would be different. But my kids certainly do.
Yeah.
One generation, it's very different. They look at my boys' heads and like, whoa, they're sturdy kids.
Yeah.
And Pottinger's cats is another great example of how significantly, if people don't know Pottinger's cats, it was cats that were
Yeah.
taken off a natural diet and then turned into a generation of feral cats. And then shortly after that, they went the opposite direction, and they were, the next couple generations were back to thriving. So
Mhm.
I think we can. I think the earth is able to heal rapidly as well if we stop suffocating it. So,
Yeah.
and there's plenty of reason for optimism, but there's definitely reason to not take your eye off the ball and just
Yeah.
believe all the hopium and that Superman's here and we don't have to do anything. And that that can be a fool's errand as well.
Apathy got us to where we are now.
Yeah. So
We
let's not
cannot
make that
afford
mistake
it.
again. Right.
Cannot afford to be apathetic at all.
Yeah.
I really like this illustration. Um, I'm
Yeah.
really glad that you brought that one up. Oh, the words are not showing on the bottom, but I had seen the same thing a month or two ago, and I had saved it as well. And it's deeply connected to what we're talking about right
Right.
now. So
Yeah.
the fish on the left is a sick fish. Oh, I wish I could see the.
I
Wish
can
I
fill in the text for you if you want, but
Okay. Yes,
yeah.
please do.
Well, that's so the metaphor here is, there's two options. The fish on the left is us, or you could even think of it as an individual cell in the body. And that fish or that cell is swimming in a toxic environment. It can't avoid it. It's stuck in this and can't get out. And that is us. We are in a toxic environment. And so we can medicate that fish and we can biohack the fish and give them some red light. We can make the fish swim laps and we can have some counseling for the fish and we can feed it better and we can throw a bunch of supplements at the fish. But at some point, we have to step back and say, we need to clean the tank. And if we don't clean the tank, we can't get the fish healthy, no matter how many different things we throw at it. I had a great experience a few weeks ago. I was at a farm just walking around with a group of people, and I ended up striking up a conversation with one of the moms. And she has been a Weston Pricer for a long time. She eats really, really well and has had so many health issues. And it's just kind of dumbfounded at why she's not healing, given how great her diet is. And I had to step back and be like, because you're in a dirty tank. If we skip straight ahead from unburden and purify, we skip straight to nourish. We haven't cleaned the tank out, and we've got chemicals mucking up our processes, or we have self-replicating microbes like parasites or mold or whatever in there. It's eating your first fruits. It's poisoning your tank, and all the nutrition you're eating isn't able to serve you as well as it could because your tank isn't clean. And it's just like light bulb moment for her. She's like, oh, I get it now. And there's an eagerness and even like a relief that, like, oh, it could be actually that simple. And nourishment is definitely different than healing. Some of the most
Yeah.
potent purification agents do nothing to nourish you, but they're great at helping you clean the tank. And it's just learning the difference of those things that can help someone find the waypoint and the methodical process it takes to really heal their body.
Yeah. Very good points. And then here's another illustration as well.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about who that person is. I'm hoping it's one person in particular down there that I care a great deal about, and you may run
Yeah.
into. But that aside, it could be anyone. It could be any number of us. And my husband is one of those people, actually.
Hmm.
We were able to recover him from really serious illness, and then a few years later. He
Hmm.
went, um, wasn't living with us. I mean, he was living with us on the weekends, but he was working a couple of hours away, and I'm sending him food every week, and he's eating regular food. And then he ended up sick again and was put on prednisone, which makes it worse. And
Yeah.
then he has a heart attack, and then he's pumped up with many, many, many chemicals. And he's like that fish in the dirty tank. His body is just polluted. So many of us are, and we
Hmm.
need to get well again. But in order to get well, we really have to take a look at where we are, I think. So,
Hmm.
and that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what this metaphor is meant to suggest. And if often in life we try so many things and we're working hard and we're like, why can't I get ahead? And it's imagine trying to run a race in fifth lane. You're never going to win that race because there are other people who have an advantage over you, and it's almost
yeah,
like there's a force field blocking you from going into lane 4 and 3 and eventually the others. But the metaphor I created here was that most of us, when we hit that symptoms lane, where our body's starting to give us evidence that the body's breaking down or having a hard time, what most Americans do is they drift toward the suppression of the symptoms. Like, oh, we're going to do the cortisone because that you can't feel that pain anymore. We're going to give you prednisone, whatever. And that symptom suppression is just unplugging the body's microphone and communication language such that we don't feel it. And symptoms create more symptoms. And you end up just managing decline and going to specialist after specialist. And you just climb the specialist and lab test escalation ladder. And then eventually end up in hospice, which is, unfortunately, it's that pull as you turn the corner to just drift into the next lane because that's what the culture does. And we said there's a better way to do this, but there's the first thing, like I said earlier, we've got to start unburdening from the things that are creating the stress on the body. Are you ever going to get rid of all the stress? No, of course not. We're going to have stress. You can't get away from the toxins falling down from the sky,
yeah,
but you can clean up your personal care products. You can clean up how you clean your home. You can clean up the products you use around your house and so many other places, like microwaves and whatnot, where your body's just, you're creating more burden that you don't need. And if you take away the influx and your body's, I can run a little faster, and you shift into that. Okay, well let's deal with the toxins that are already in me. And that's for us,
yeah,
it's basically two things. It's microbes and it's chemicals, right? Heavy metals under that chemical. And then from there, as you have a clean body, you can think of it as like a clean but dilapidated house. Like I finally got the cobwebs and the rat poop and the trash out of the house, but I still have to refurbish the wood. And that's where nourishment is so powerful. It's so much more effective if we don't try to jump from symptoms to, but most people jump that optimized lane, the biohack lane. There's got to be a pill I can swallow to burn belly fat. There's got to be a shortcut to stay, and you can't stay in that lane because you haven't gotten shape enough to stay in the lane. And so if that metaphor clicks, it can give you some freedom to take the pressure off yourself to feel better in 6 weeks. It can give you the ability to say, what if I took a few laps around the unburden first? You'd start feeling better doing that. And then
yeah,
if you can take a few laps around a good curated detox and purifying your body of the chemicals and microbes that are in there, do that. It's not like nourishment is, you can't do it concurrently, but you increase the efficacy of it. And with everything about food, Maureen, oh my goodness, you heal so many people with food. And we expand our definition of nourishment beyond food. It's water, it's hope, it's sleep, it's movement, it's nature,
it's prayer.
it's prayer,
Yeah,
it's
it's
all of
walking
that.
barefoot in the dirt or in the
Yeah,
grass. It's,
precisely.
yeah,
That's nourishing to the soul and to the body. And you want to heal a body, just don't skip lanes. Like you got to go in some circles here, but they're productive circles and they're leading somewhere.
we're going to go back to
But
that.
you know where the other lane leads. It's suppression of symptoms. It's pharmaceutical whack-a-mole. It's removal of body parts. It's another specialist. It's a bigger
Oh,
surgery. And then it's nursing home. And it's watching life from the sidelines, wondering why you can never catch up and keep up with people because you had a paradigm you were operating from because of the culture, the water you were swimming in, and you didn't understand that there's a much better way to go here. But that's what we've taken to, is just pointing that out so people can have an informed option and managed expectations of, you're going to have to do some laps here in these various lanes. But once it's so fun to let people have that aha, to take them through some laps and have them go. I recorded 2 testimony videos this week of a woman who she had a surgery plan to have female parts mutilated or removed. and because she was bleeding heavily and couldn't stop for months. And she canceled her surgery. She's lost about almost 30 pounds. And
Wow.
she had head to toe eczema, and she's got a little bit left on one of her arms. Like, but all we did was take away the burden and purify it. We've barely started the nurse. Like there's so much more healing
Wow.
she can do, but the body just needed a method and a system from like, can I please show you what I can do when I don't have all this gunk to deal with? And her dad was the other one, and he's lost over 30 pounds. And so they're gearing up for a fast now. Imagine what healing is available with that. So yeah, it's just, that's the next day for us. And we get those encouragements pretty much every week of like, what? I've had tooth infections, yeast
Amazing.
infections, UTI, toe fungus, throw it at me. Like I know how to purify the body of those things now. So anyway.
That's amazing. And I'm very careful, as you know, about what goes into my body. I'm very intentional.
Mhm.
And because I know that I don't have the same burden that many people do, but I
Mhm.
wonder how many people notice this. I am sensitive to things like chlorine
Mhm.
and fragrances.
Yeah.
And so if I go to a store to buy a cleaning product, and mostly I just use vinegar and I use non-toxic cleaners. But if I'm at a store and I have to walk down that aisle, I literally hold my breath
Mhm.
because I feel sick. Or if I go to someone's home and they have the air fresheners plugged in and going, I just can't breathe very well. I just feel sick. And it's a sick in a way, I can't relate it to anything else. I just don't feel good.
Mhm.
So as soon as I can, and I go out into fresh air and I breathe in fresh air, I immediately begin to feel better. I'm thinking that probably most people are not that in tune or that probably most people are so overburdened with toxins that they aren't going to have that same experience, but perhaps if we pay attention, they will. And that should be telling us something.
Mhm.
My friend Tambray is saying that she experiences the very same thing. Um, we have a swimming pool. I don't have chlorine. It's hydrogen peroxide because I know chlorine is toxic, harmful, and it makes me feel sick. I'm
Mhm.
not going to want to breathe that in. So it's hydrogen peroxide. But most people are not aware of all of this and they are constantly putting toxins in. So obviously the first step that I know you would suggest is to stop knowingly putting toxins into our body
Mhm.
that we have control over.
Right. Yeah, and fragrance is a big one, and you
Yeah.
could go on the EWG and just look at their cosmetic database, and I think it's over 100,000 products now, and you could just see
Yeah.
they have a toxicity score. One of the things that keeps them from being able to give an accurate score is fragrance, because it's a trade secret. Nobody knows what fragrance is. It's like trying to figure out what natural flavors is.
Yeah.
There's
Which is
nothing
not
natural about
natural.
natural flavors. That's artificial flavors. You're trying to mimic something natural. That's why they call it that.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
we don't know what it is. So yeah, if you could just the plugins, like if I go down the laundry aisle at the grocery store, I'm like, oh gosh, this hurry
Yeah.
up and get out of this aisle. Like it is
Yeah,
that
I
bad.
know. I had to go
Yeah,
grab some borax the other day and it was, oh,
yeah,
man.
yeah. But it's 100 places like that where until it occurs to you that it's hiding in everything. When you pick up a product and you look at the ingredients, you're like, I have no idea what most of that is. You probably don't want to use it because
Yep.
it by nature is body burden in your laundry soap, in your dishwasher detergent, in your pick the product, you're going to have more accumulation of it. And as you take away, one at a time, and you upgrade your toothpaste and your mouthwash and your soap and your makeup, and like suddenly your body's like, thanks. Like
Yeah.
I energy's back. I'm clear headed for longer. Imagine what we could do if we cleaned out this mess.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And a really quick note, since I'm a soap maker, a lot of times I go to shows and people have natural soap, right? And maybe they have a collection that's all essential oils, and then they have a collection that's fragrance oils, but it's all natural. It's
Hmm.
not natural, people. So stop. Just stop doing that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to bite my tongue because I want to say to the sweet soap maker, you're poisoning yourself and your customers. Get rid
Hmm.
of that stuff. We'll do a show about labels very, very soon. I'm collecting
Nice.
a list because it's super important. But we're on the same page here, and I'm sure anyone listening understands that we need to avoid all of those things, even when they say natural.
Right. Yeah.
'Cause-
Natural is one of the most meaningless words in all of marketing right now. It's been so watered down. Even organic, I hate to say it, has become
Yeah,
compromised. Like some percentage of it is organic. And oh, thanks. But so at least you can say it's probably better than non, but it doesn't. Yeah. The fight over labels and the way
yeah,
they keep, as the public learns what some of these words mean, they just change the word and call it something else. And it's
yes.
on us to stay, this would be easier if it was beef or apple, or I could recognize all of it's tallow. And like we found a soap it's coconut oil and grapefruit oil. And we're like, well, that's it. Wow. Like
There's more
I
in
know
it.
what those are. Yeah.
There's definitely more than that, or it wouldn't be soap. But
Right.
yeah, um, well, we're all, I think, on the same page on that then, and going into a discussion about labels at a later date will be really helpful, I think, for
Yeah.
our listeners. But now that we just have this basic understanding, what are some practical things that we can begin to do today to help us begin the process of detoxification?
Yeah. So, I mean, the most simple one that most people are aware of or just need to be reminded of on a time to time is water. Like this, where most of the stuff gets in it. So, if you are drinking tap water, even well water, please stop it and get yourself at least a good filter. And there's gradations of how much they filter out. And if you can get at least a 5 micron filter, you're going to get parasites out of their water. But if you can get something like bone char to get fluoride out, even better. But
Yeah.
yeah, start with a minimum of your water because that's one of the most basic things. Get yourself a good sea salt because then you get the minerals to absorb what your water can offer you, and you can also get more out of your food. So
Mhm.
I like Baja Gold. I think they have a great product. And for purification agents, depending on the platform, they may go, you can't talk about this, but we'll try anyway. There's chlorine dioxide, there's structured
Yeah.
nanosilver, there's DMSO, OSR. They're all super powerful purification agents that are some of our secret weapons. So there's a learning curve to any of them to
Mhm.
figure out how to use them effectively and not create a Herxheimer or kind of a cleansing response where you feel worse because your body's like, I can't do it that fast. Slow down. But
Yeah.
detox baths are amazing. They're underrated. I've had people improve skin issues significantly just with a good detox bath. So learning about those. And then it's a parasite cleanse. If you've never done one, I would almost bet you have them. Most people do, and it's just been a dismissed problem for a long time.
Now,
And
there
so,
is one aspect about that, though, that I'm going to bring up.
okay.
Uh, my friend Laura Volante, as well as others, have spoken about how parasites are actually present as part of the cleanup crew, and we should go slowly in eliminating them for two reasons. One, because they are there for that reason, often, not all.
Hmm.
And two, because when we seek to eliminate them from our body, and I know that you can address this and that you will, we may be inadvertently releasing those same toxins even as we're eliminating the parasites.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a reason why you'd want some binders or some other purification agents because as they die, candida is another one, or mold. As it dies off, it's creating a different set of toxins. And
Yeah.
you want to be able to bind that and escort it to the exit. So one of the worst things you can do when you're trying to cleanse is become a couch potato. Like you got to get moving. That movement creates movement. It gets the things through the lymphatic system, to the bladder and the bowel, and to get the stuff out of your body. So sweating, pooping, peeing, in some cases puking, just getting these things out of you. You've got to be active while you do this. And so whether that's just a simple rebounder or a walk or a modest exercise program, you do not want to be sedentary while you're trying to cleanse. So yeah, parasites by definition, they're typically something that feeds off the host and doesn't offer benefits, but
Mm.
their role, and if there's plenty of rot and filth in the body for them to munch on, they're going to have an endless supply of food. And that's their role. You
Yeah.
get rid of, think of it like a really dirty kitchen. You, you don't
Yeah.
want to eat in that. Like it's gross, but and that you look at it, and you know it's unsanitary. So you clean the kitchen, and the microbes that would feed on all that don't have anything to eat, and they leave. This neighborhood's gone to crap. I'm not going to live here anymore.
Right.
Same way inside you. Get rid of their food source, the toxins that they're there to clean up, and you can get the worms out. And Nina and I have both had some significant, like, whoa, that was in there. Like, okay,
Oh,
then I
wow.
guess there was more to this. Like, and you start to realize that the breadth of symptoms that can come from parasites in particular, and it's I never would have thought of that. But now that I see it or have experienced it, I can't unsee it. Like, duh, of course that would create problems. So yeah, you make a great point.
Yeah. What about lymphatic massage? Is that something that you employ in your?
Yeah, certainly could. For a person that doesn't maybe have a massage therapist, just a simple body brush could do some of that.
Yeah.
There's lymphatic exercise. Some specifics, it's just typically moving your arms and legs and more or less circular motions if you want something simple. But a rebounder is a great one because it bounces that lymph. It can only go one direction, and that stimulus to jump to the next chamber, if you will, get to the lymph node, the filtering pockets where the immune system comes in and mugs and cleans up and escorts the stuff to the exit. That's essentially, yeah, that's back to my comment about movement. But if you can find a good lymph massage or a massage therapist who can put their hands on you and help move that along, fantastic, even better.
Yeah, but a rebounder is something that I've been wanting to buy. So
There you go. Now you coach approved on that one.
thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll talk to the husband if I need
Tell
to.
George that, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, George, Christian said I
Yeah,
need
he
to get a
said you
rebounder.
can, yeah. So have him call me and I'll just give it to him.
Yeah. Well, he needs something as well. And there are people like him. I'm sure he's not the only one who have a
Right.
difficult time eliminating toxins.
Yeah.
Like put him in a sauna, he doesn't sweat. Uh,
You
so
could try a ginger bath. That can sometimes get somebody to sweat where they're not, that or a sauna and some good salt. It's just
yeah,
you can retrain the body to sweat. It sounds, some people are like desert rats, and it's like, how is it you're not sweating yet? But
yeah.
yeah, some salt, some sauna, a ginger bath. You'll start to turn that around.
So a ginger bath, just slicing up fresh
Yep,
ginger.
lots of ginger. It makes you sweat like crazy. You can even get saunas where they like your head sticks out and they just bake you from the neck down.
Yeah.
And so there's little personal saunas and you can put steam in there, but the body knows how to sweat. It's just maybe that system's a little underutilized or deconditioned, if you will. It's out of shape. And so patiently training it, knowing where you're headed. And that patience phase is often a step people don't have the mindset for. I don't sweat. Well, that doesn't mean you can't. It's like saying I don't sleep. Well, that doesn't mean you can't. Your body's, I promise it's interested in sleep. There's something interrupting it. And it
Yes.
may take you a while to get back there. But so we got to figure out why you're having a hard time sleeping or why you have a headache or why you don't sweat. But I promise we won't get better at if we don't practice it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we're exercising, we're taking detox baths. I'm guessing probably also Epsom salts, baking soda baths to help as well.
Yeah, you can do clay. You can do fulvic acid is another great one. Those are great for some people. Sometimes you can combine them in different ways. You can get there. So Baja Gold has a mix of Epsom salts and their sea ocean minerals. They got their salt is about 75% sodium chloride, and the rest is minerals. So you can get some of the most mineral rich water combined with Epsom salt and detox in that, and that's a great product. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to mix and match the ingredients you talked about, and some of it's you're gonna hurt yourself. So play around and see what you like. But yeah, there's basic protocols. You can even do chlorine dioxide baths and such to help your body purge. So yeah, there's a lot of great ways to get this out. It's just you want some method and you want to be able to adjust to your body's response as you go. And sometimes that means some internal things, some binders and other purification agents to keep things from bothering you on the inside.
I really do want to talk about, not right now, because I know this is a deep topic, but DMSO and sodium dioxide.
Mhm.
Maybe we can just talk a little bit about it, but at a later date, I would really like to go more in depth into some of those things that I am familiar with, but not well versed.
Okay. Yeah. I'm happy to give a quick thing on DMSO is it's just an herbal product. Dimethyl sulfoxide is what it stands for. It comes from trees. It's basically nature's antifreeze. And what that means is it's great at taking water and pulling it through. It can pull it through tree bark. So it can pull whatever you want to put in your body into your body through your fat and water layers. And it can help the body penetrate wherever healing is needed. You can do it topically in a very effective way. So DMSO was vilified by the FDA in 1965 and then was out of jail in 1994 because it's really just a natural product. So now it's a supplement and we can all use it. So
It's one of those things where you have a difficult time pronouncing it, but it actually is a natural and
yeah,
good.
yeah, it's just an herb. Think of it, it's an herbal product from a tree. That's
Yeah.
all it is. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And then chlorine dioxide is a whole nother realm.
Right.
And I think worth those two things we could go in depth into
Sure.
later. I'm becoming more familiar with that, but I don't have a lot of, well, that's also MMS, right? Is that another
They're
term?
somewhat different. Yeah, MMS typically uses citric acid, and the purists would say chlorine dioxide is meant to be used with hydrochloric acid. But yeah, chlorine dioxide is just a substance that when you combine two ingredients, you now have it, and it's probably right to the top of my list as a purification and healing agent. The breadth of it doesn't just destroy pathogens; it obliterates toxins. It can literally break apart glyphosate, which is
Oh,
fantastic
wow.
because you could use it to rehabilitate soil that's got glyphosate in it. So there are so many. That's back to my comment earlier about like we can speed up this healing thing doesn't need to take 7 generations. We have the tools to do it faster. We just have to deploy them. But one of my most popular podcasts by orders of magnitude is with Dr. Andreas Kalker about chlorine dioxide specifically. And I'm about to interview him again this year. And he just wrote like an 800-page book. It's got so many years, and there's literally thousands of doctors around the world. It's the most popular healing modality probably outside the US. Here, we're still under wraps, not allowed to talk about it as much, but it is dramatic. You can name a health condition and it will impact that significantly. And it's just learning how to do it. And there's often a trepidation people have of, I don't want to do it wrong. And once you kind of get over that, like, I'm just going to experiment. I'm going to start small and find my way. But there's topical, internal enemas, you can use it, baths, you can use it, but pick an infection. Let's just say sayonara. Like it's remarkable what it can do.
Wow.
It's sold for water purification. So that's the reason they don't get rid of it. But if you make the logical connection, the human body is mostly made up out of what? Water. I
Water.
wonder what would happen if we clean the water.
Yeah.
How many different problems clear themselves up? So that there's a lot more I could say about chlorine dioxide, but yeah, it's a vast and deep yet profoundly simple topic.
If you wanted to send me a link to that interview that you mentioned, I'll put it or have Aaron put it in the show notes.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
I want to listen to it, but I'm sure that our other listeners will want to as well. So we'll put that in the show notes.
Okay, happy to do that.
Good, because I'm eager to hear that. I'm really eager to learn about that. And then what are some other things you're moving through? You're beginning, maybe you're getting rid of the products, the cleaning products, the personal care products, and cleaning up your food and your water.
Mhm.
You're exercising, maybe you're rebounding, you're doing these other things. What are some other things that we can do to move through this?
Another one that people often don't know about is castor oil. Castor oil is healing in very significant ways, and it's also great at penetrating into your body. So you could even combine it with DMSO to give it an extra push. But
Done that actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you can put that on your abdomen and just kind of sleep with it, and it'll heal so many different things. Well, your body's the healer, but it helps facilitate a healing process. So the yeah, castor oil is a big one that gets overlooked. Enemas is another one
Yeah.
that aren't. It's like who likes sticking something up their butt, but my goodness,
Especially with coffee enemas.
yeah, it's a fast way to get something stimulating to get it back out. And if you don't want to do coffee, you can do water. You can do chlorine dioxide. There are other things you can do to expedite the dissolving and removal of toxicity that people just often don't know about or have been leery to use, or you just kind of have to go, okay, well, I'm going to do this, and here we go, and
Yeah.
I'll get on with it. And yeah, and from there, if you've got those basic things down, you can. Yeah, I don't mean to sound hyperbolic or make claims. You can just heal about anything because the body's doing the work. You're just took away the constraints, and yeah, you're creating the fertile soil from which health can now grow. And then healing is different than detox. If that clicks, then you're on your way, because cleaning out the body is not the same thing as healing it. Right?
But in order to heal, we have to clean house first.
Yes, right. In order to organize appoint your home, you have to first get all the stuff off the floor and get to where you can clean and make the house look good. So that we often want to just jump to make it look good on the outside, lose the weight. Why am I not losing the weight? Your body's, it's like, I'll get to weight loss later. I have to get rid of this tumor. I have to get rid of this infection. I have to go heal this bone, whatever. It's got its own undisclosed priority list of what it's healing. And we often lose patience in that interim of, yeah, but I want it to heal this. Like, let it do its work. It knows what to do.
Really, that is a profound thought that we all need to grab a hold of, that we are wonderfully designed.
Yes.
Our bodies do know what to do if we just allow it. And if we allow it the opportunity, provide the tools that it needs, it will do what it's designed to do. But we suppress it in so many ways every day.
Well, get frustrated with the speed with which it does what we want it to do. Like maybe the closest approximation I could use that you'd appreciate is gardening. Like, do you get mad at your tomato bush because it didn't grow as fast as you, or in the way that you want it? No, you take it like, well, I wonder what I could have done differently to help the tomato grow. And if you look at your health through that, like almost like a gardener, a steward level, and say, I get to figure out the collection of factors that is going to increase this fertility in the soil, that's going to create a better harvest. Your health is kind of the same way. Like, there's a collection of factors that come together to produce dramatic cleaning and dramatic healing. And when you have those two things, my goodness, there's a patience, and there's it's on me if the farming's not working. I wonder what I'm doing differently than what my body needs. And if you don't like your results, you change your approach and you try new things. But as you start to master tools, if you mastered silver and chlorine dioxide and DMSO and castor oil and enemas and detox baths, you would feel like a health ninja. And never mind how well you know how to cook. I know how well your cooking is. I've had it. It's amazing how well you cook. And
your wife is a pretty good cook too.
She's no chef. Thank you, Nina, if you're listening. Thumbs up. But that is deeply nourishing, and it's soul food as much as it is biology food. Like but if you can just understand, okay, think of it like a gardener. Oh, it takes some of the pressure off you, and you don't have to be mad when you took that one herbal product and it didn't make all your dreams come true.
Right.
There's something else going on here.
Pills is not the answer. And I really want people to understand that popping supplemental pills is just, it's just taking the place of a pharmaceutical drug. We need to stop relying on pills and such. Now, we have two questions, and one of them I know we're not going to really go into right now, but it's something that I am going to seek out an acquaintance to talk about, and that is whether or not solfeggio frequencies can facilitate healing. And that's an interesting topic, but we'll come to that definitely.
Okay.
But the other question is whether or not castor oil packs can help with colon cancer. And because castor oil packs do help the liver to send off toxins, I'm presuming it does the same for the colon because they're connected.
Right. Well, they're connected, and we have this unfortunate scenario in what we call healthcare these days, where we think of the body as an individual parts, as if they don't depend on and need each other. Right. And they're all dependent on each other. So if the colon's having a hard time, it's an indication somewhere else there's a problem too. And the colon's the one where you're feeling or noticing the symptoms, but the problem can be any number of other things. So here's the path: take away the burden, purify the body. The liver is one of the heavy hitters for detoxification. It does the biggest amount of work of encapsulating things with glucuronic acid and so on. And it grabs them, sends them through the bowel and the kidneys, to help the body get that stuff out. So could castor oil help facilitate the process? Of course it could. Could an enema? Yes. Could chlorine dioxide? Yes. And there's so many. Once you get your short list of purification agents, and I like you, I'm a supplement minimalist. Most everything we recommend in the supplement world is just food form, something, pea pollen, liver, cod liver oil. There's not a lot you need. Salt, like bone broth. But once you've got that, here's my tools, learn them well, learn them at depth. And you'll just start to feel like one of the guys that wrote the book on DMSO. He just talks about the winners, as he calls them at the end of the book. He's just saying the people who win at this are the people who are unafraid to experiment. They go try stuff. Yeah. And so, yes, experiment with your castor oil, but don't look for the silver bullet. There's this one thing. I just need to do this thing, and then finally I will have health. Think synergy. How many things can you stack at master one, learn it, and then experiment with, maybe I can combine it with something else and something else. And I wouldn't just rely only on castor oil, but I'd certainly use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good question, and I definitely wanted to address it. Um, Christian, you have a program for detoxification,
Hmm.
and it is on your website now. We're going to post your website. Erin is
Okay.
usually here, and she's usually doing that, but she is on her way back from the airport right now.
Oh,
So
cool.
we'll do that later. But tell us a little bit about what that program entails. Not details, but
Yeah,
uh,
so the program essentially, the flagship one, the main reason people come to us, we have an 8-week detoxification program, and so we have a whole week of just prepping and learning, of figuring out what is it that you want to order, and so typically where we start is the biome. We start with parasites and microbes and rebalancing the ecology of the gut, getting that in your favor, and then about depending on how the person's body responds, we typically switch into a chemical and metal cleanse, and
okay.
that's one you want to do well. And so from there, as those can run somewhat in parallel, and then if the person's ready for it, we teach them to fast. And so we take them through
Mm.
prepping for a fast, and then we take them through roughly a 5-ish day water fast. And we just teach them a lot of the tools we've been mentioning on the show today. We just teach them. We have tutorials on how to use all these things and how to understand and recognize your body's feedback, track things. And so we just take people through that. We have calls every week for answering questions. We have code red calls if you need some emergent support. So yeah, it's some of the most fun work I've done because I feel like I'm finally getting at the root causes of things. And then if they need more support, exercise, fitness, et cetera, emotional healing, we have other programs for that.
Yeah, the emotional healing is super super important,
Hmm.
and especially not only with emotional healing, but healing generally. I think the sound frequencies
Yeah,
can play a part. Um, and then the emotion code book and other
yeah,
work to help with the
absolutely.
emotions. Yeah, I've seen firsthand where people have been very sick or they've been covered in eczema, and then they basically release the trapped emotions. They realize the
Mhm.
emotions, they confront them, they pray,
Yeah,
and it's like a total flip.
yeah. No,
The
I
f-
don't doubt it because the body's able to do this. It's just, unless you correctly identify the upstream source of body burden, which to your point can be more mental, emotional, and spiritual than it is physical. Sometimes
it
it's the
just
other way.
yeah,
But often, and it's always a combination of both, really. But
yeah,
that whichever one is the lead domino, it doesn't always matter. Like you go with the intuition of the person. Do I need to heal emotionally? Am I so
yeah,
stuck in self criticism and trauma, and I have so much fear and anxiety? That's going to slow down your detox journey. That's for sure. We have a
yeah,
6-week course just on emotional mastery to help people really wrestle with what's been in their past, and that can be so liberating that the detox is easy. So, yeah, that's,
it's
I
interesting,
and
yeah.
yeah, well, and if I can one other concept I'll leave the listener with is the concept of biophysics, right? There's what we typically hear about in medicine or even the supplement world is biochemistry. We're
Mhm.
stuck in this periodic table model of chemistry equals the riddle for health. Biophysics says there's light and there's heat and there's motion, there's magnetism, there's electricity and chemistry, and we're spiritual beings. Like there's a physics, the biological laws of physics we're all bound to. Is healing is not limited to a pill or to a diet. It's so, and then, yes, does sound influence it? Of course. Does electric frequency interview? Of course it does. And they're part of healing, and they're coming into their age, I think, where they're going to be deployed more. But I think if it's a lot of that sometimes fits in the biohacking realm, and if we're kind of hoping to jump to optimize on some of those things, if we don't deal with the emotional toxicity and if we don't deal with the chemical and microbial toxicity and clean that up first, we're gonna like I tried that too and it didn't work. Well, it wasn't time for that yet.
Yeah,
So they're adjuncts that can be helpful, but if you can just focus fire on, oh, my body is burdened. I let me remove the burden and nourish it, and then nourish it is the you eventually get into the optimizing phase, and that's
yeah.
fun.
I'm gonna toss out one more question from me, actually,
Okay.
and that is when we're talking about detoxifying from metals,
Hmm.
and we have mercury amalgam
Uh, yeah.
fillings, like most of us do, I'm
Hmm.
sure, most of
Yeah.
us in the adult world anyway. I've heard varying things and read varying things about whether or not it is wise to have them removed many years later. I know that you can do a simple test with a specific type of chewing gum to see if the amalgams are still releasing mercury. Is it good to have them removed? Is it not? And this is coming from someone who has a mouth full of fillings, and I've had to have, I have a lot of baby teeth still, and I've had to have quite a few pulled. So I'm thinking about this because people say, oh, you have to get rid of those mercury fillings. Well, how important is that really? Because it's just not really practical for.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so let me give you the bad news first, and then I'll give you the good news. The bad news is I would say those need to come out. And that is a significant, like, if you're one of my first questions now when somebody's telling me their health puzzle is, tell me about your teeth. Do you have mercury fillings? Do you have crowns, or do you have root canals? If you have any of those three, then we have a systemic source of a biological burden that at some point needs to be dealt with. So is that inexpensive? No. Is it convenient? No. Is it significant? Yes. It leading to cancer, such that I just finished reading this book, and they would say that healthy mouth, healthy you. And they would say that all of you'll find different oncologists who will say, I've never seen somebody with cancer that didn't also have mercury fillings, that didn't also have a root canal. That, like, they're just, and you can see on scans, like, through lines from that tooth to that breast where the tumor is. Like, it's just significant in its body burden. And so if you have dental issues that you haven't resolved, brace for some sticker shock. And it doesn't mean you have to do it today. So there's your bad news.
Yeah.
Your good news, that's my opinion, and you'll get maybe some people who disagree with me. But the good news is there's plenty of things you can do to mitigate that in the meantime. So there are mouthwashes you can do, there are detoxes you can do, and save up for and make that a project for some time in the future. But even a good toothpaste with silver and clay in it will help. Chlorine dioxide mouthwashing and any sort of mitigation effort. So if you're going to find a dentist who will take them out, you want to find a really good one they'll block the back of your throat. They will plug your nose. They will have vacuums in your mouth. They will be wearing a full body hazmat suit. If you break a thermometer somewhere in the hospital, the whole hazmat team has to come to clean it up. What does that tell you about the significant toxicity of mercury? You grind every time you grind your teeth, or to make it worse, do you ever drink anything hot or cold? Do you ever eat hot or cold food? What is mercury very sensitive to?
Heat
temperature, right?
Mhm.
It's reducing the integrity of your tooth every time your temperature changes. And so that, unfortunately, is just that I have a friend, Dr. Robert Yoho, who wrote a book called Judas Dentistry. He had to have 17 mercury fillings taken out of his mouth. His wife had major cancer, and she had root canals. They got the root canals out, and her cancer went away.
Wow.
So there's something significant to be said about the health of the teeth related to the health of the body. And I would suggest that you make it a as near term as reasonable priority to start getting that addressed, and watch health turnarounds that can be significant. And then you still have to deal with the mercury or the leftover residue of what's in there. The more egregious problem with root canals is infection, because they can't sterilize it. And you've got a cap on an infection that is literally poisoning your body. And you can have all sorts of sinus issues and pressure and tinnitus and not realize what you really have is a tooth problem, not a sinus problem. You blame it on mold when it was really your tooth. And once that starts to click, I guess I should start thinking about how do I go after root causes. You can do a lot with silver spray and chlorine dioxide spray as a nasal spray to start vaporizing and diminishing that, because chlorine dioxide will dissolve metal. It's that good. But that's the long answer to your simple question.
And it's but it's a complex issue because for so many of us, and I just spent many thousands of dollars to have dental work done.
Mm-hmm.
And to have that specific thing addressed, it's going to take many thousands more.
Well, and so another option, it's not as logistically convenient, but you can go to Colombia, Mexico, and you get it done for way less money than what the dentists charge in the U.S. So
that's actually something I've considered.
Make it a vacation and find a way to get that done. But you have that many more years of health and runway by that one simple, albeit semi-expensive, inconvenient choice.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we could go on, and I'd love to
talk.
Well, this is also fascinating, but we're going to call it a day for now. But Christian, any parting thoughts? And of course, we'll put links for where we can find you, but anything that you'd like to share?
I guess the only thing I share just to the listener, just be encouraged that your body knows how to heal. And if you have a doctor or somebody tell you that it can't, they are speaking from what they know
Yeah.
and possibly speaking from ignorance. That doesn't mean it's not possible, it just means they don't know how it is. And
Yeah.
so understand your body's fearfully and wonderfully made. It is remarkable at what it can overcome. Humans are amazing. And if you can, and I may have overwhelmed you a time or two in this. And if that happened,
Oh,
just let the wave pass. Like
yeah.
it will. And then you'll say, okay, well, what then can I do? And there are great answers. So be encouraged.
And I am encouraged just in the thought that not only did God design us to heal,
Hmm.
but when we grab a hold of what God has given us, the tools to be healthy and to be strong, we can go out and we can change the world. And that's
Yeah.
what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. That's kind of what fuels me. I've got
Yeah,
6
I
kids
know.
I brought into this world, and I can't wait to see what they do. It's a better platform for health and understanding of how the world works and et cetera, and go make something of this. And it's fun to have mission a part of your day to day.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your being with us and sharing. And at some point in time, I'm sure we'll do something with Nina as well.
Oh
And
yeah. You get
I'll
the better interview there. She's fun.
no, you guys are a team,
Yes.
just the
That's
way we're also designed to be a team.
yep.
And you work well together and you complement one another. So
Well, thanks.
at some point we'll do that as well. But thank you very, very much for being with us and answering our questions and giving us all of this good information. And of course, viewers, please check out the links that will be in the comments. They're not there immediately, but they will be there within an hour or two. So you can see what Christian is doing and what he and his team are doing. And you can sign up for one of his courses, which I am going to do.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that'd be
Yes.
fun. We'd love to have you.
Erin had taken one of your classes. I don't remember what one, but she
Uh-huh.
loved it. And so I'm going to start doing that too. And
Yeah.
root cause, I heard you say that several times, and I
Yeah.
want to say yes, hooray for that.
Yeah.
Because that is the problem in all of modern medicine,
Hmm.
and even in herbal and natural medicine. Most people don't look at the root cause,
Yeah.
and we really want to address the root cause. And that really does need to begin with detoxification.
It does. Yeah. Well, I even have on the website, if you go there, it's healingunited.today. I've got a 7-part mini series all about laying out a lot of what we talked about today of where the problem is, why your doctor doesn't have a clue how to find the problem, what culture we swim in, and then really just how the body heals. And it's
Wow.
fun. So yeah, if you're inclined, check that out.
Okay. I know I will. I have it open actually right
Oh,
now.
cool. There you go.
Yeah. So friends, I hope you'll do the same. Thank you everyone for being with us. And Christian, we wish you well. And you might see me in sunny Florida sometime
Oh,
here.
yes. Okay. We'll take it. We got room for you.
Yep. But until then, everyone, thank you. We ask that you would like our show, subscribe if you have not already, and share. Please share widely. We appreciate every view. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.